fantasy. This is my channel, The Fancy Hat Lady Reads. I'm wearing one of my fancy booktube hats, and today I'm doing my monthly recommendations video for the month of December. Monthly recommendations, if you do not know, is a Goodreads group created by Trina from Between Chapters and Kayla Rain. I will link the group and all of the information down below. Every month they give us a topic, and booktubers and bloggers across the book community are invited to share a list of books for that topic. So the topic is New to You Authors of 2016, and by that they mean authors that we read for the first time in 2016, regardless of whether or not those were authors making their debuts this year or if they were authors who've been around for a while that we just now discovered this year. So I went through my Goodreads to look at everything that I've read this year. I was actually a little disappointed to find that I hadn't given a book by a new-to-me author this year a 5-star rating at any point during the year. All of my 5 stars apparently have gone to authors this year that I had already read before. But I did discover a good number of authors whose work I enjoyed enough that I will definitely be continuing to seek out more of their work. The list here, I have all books that I read this year that I gave 4-star ratings to. Now, these are not all of the new-to-me authors that I gave high ratings to this year. This is a selective list of just, you know, the ones I felt like chatting about today, to be honest. I think I may have these stacked in approximately the order that I read them in the year. I cannot guarantee that, though, because I haven't double-checked. And all the books here are books that I gave 4-star ratings to on Goodreads, and they are all authors new to me whose work I plan on reading more of in the future. Now, the first book I have here is Okey by Kij Johnson. This is not her easiest book to find, but I read it at the beginning of the year and I really enjoyed it, and I would like to read more of her work, especially her short story collection At the Mouth of the River of Bees, which is considerably easier to find than either this book or her other Japanese-inspired novel, The Foxwoman. I've heard only good things about that short story collection. This is a very thoughtful sort of historical fiction fantasy novel with a double narrative going on. It takes place in 12th century Japan. I did a full review of this book at the beginning of the year. It was the first review video I ever did on this channel, so I will link that for you. Just to let you know, I will be linking all of the wrap-ups and or reviews that I have posted online for all of these books. The next book I have here is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Now, I didn't fall head over heels in love with this book as much as some people did in the booktube community, but I did really enjoy it. I feel like it's a solid entry into a subgenre of fantasy that I really like, this sort of fairy tale folklore inspired female protagonist type fantasy story. It is a standalone. Naomi Novik is previously known for her Temeraire series, which is an alternate history dragon series. I said this when I talked about this book earlier in the year, and I'll say it again. I'm still not certain whether or not I want to go back and read the Temeraire series, or if I want to just wait and see if what she comes out with next is another sort of fairy tale fantasy book. If she does come out with another fairy tale fantasy book, and something that I saw on Twitter indicates that her next book might be another such book, then I will definitely read it. I think she also has some short fiction in various collections that I'm very interested in. Next, I have All the Birds in the Sky by Charlie Jane Anders. This is a debut novel, but she's previously written some short fiction. It is super, super quirky. And it is a combination of fantasy and near-future sci-fi, end of the world with magic. It's kind of nuts. I've read 1 or 2 of her short stories since finishing this book, and I'm not sure that her writing style works for me in short fiction form quite as well as it did for me in a novel, but I will be looking out to see what she comes out with in the future. Okay, next I have The Arrival by Shaun Tan. This is one of 2 graphic novels I have on my list. I only started reading graphic novels for the first time in 2016 because of BookTube, and I'm sort of fascinated by finding myself a sort of niche of what sort of graphic novels I want to continue reading in the future. This is a fantastical immigrant story told entirely in pictures. I love Shaun Tan's imaginative visual style. I find it really breathtakingly beautiful and also very creative, very inventive. And I'm very interested in his new book that was recently released called The Singing Bones, which is actually a collection of photographs of his sculptures that are meant to be illustrations for Grimm's fairy tales. So that is a book that I would like to maybe get my hands on at some point because it looks absolutely stunning. Next is the only book that I have here, strangely enough, which is the first in a series. Obviously, the way to discover a new-to-you author whose books you know where to go with next is to start a series by a new author, and this year I started the Memoir by Lady Trent series by Marie Brennan. This is A Natural History of Dragons. It's the first book. I have not yet read the second book, A Tropic of Serpents, but I own it. I plan on reading this whole series because this was quite fun. I think the final book in this series, which is going to be, I think the 5th book, is going to be released sometime this year. So I've got a good amount of reading to do before I finish this series. I'm not certain if the rest of her books are going to be quite as much my cup of tea, but when I eventually, however long down the road, finish the series, I will be able to make that assessment for myself. In case you're unaware, this is a sort of fantasy of manners, dragons, science series that is told in the form of a memoir of a lady in a pseudo-Victorian fantasy society who becomes a dragon naturalist. And then the last book on my list here is another graphic novel, although the other things that I'm particularly interested in reading by this author are not necessarily also graphic novels. This is Digger by Ursula Vernon. She also writes as T. Kingfisher, and I read this just last month. I'll link the wrap-up, as with all of the others. This is a graphic novel about a wombat who finds herself in a fantasy adventure she wanted no part of. What I'm particularly interested in from Ursula Vernon continuing with her writing are the self-published fairy tale retelling stories that she's written under the pen name T. Kingfisher for adults. A lot of her work under the name Ursula Vernon is for kids. I need an e-reader to read those, and I think I might be getting one for Christmas. So again, these were 5 authors that I read for the first time in 2016, whose other work I plan to pursue in the future. Again, this is not at all a comprehensive list. I read quite a few more authors in 2016 for the first time whose other work I'm planning on reading, both their prior releases and future ones. I might post a few runner-up authors just for fun. Anyhow, I hope you're having a nice December. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you've read any of these authors, if there are any authors whose work you discovered in 2016 that you're planning on reading more from in the future. Anyhow, that is all. Bye for now.